Hello everyone, today we're going to talk about valuations. My name's Asim and I'm here to help you understand how valuing a property is done both before purchasing and after purchasing and when it comes to refinancing the property itself. There are multiple things to look at. First thing you want to look at is when you are buying an auction like myself, what the house should be worth or property should be worth at the end when everything is said and done. That's after purchasing the property, after you renovated the property, after you refinance the property, and once if you have either put it on buy to let, which will then mean you will be renting the property, or if you choose to sell. Initially, you should be looking at a property which would return you at the most amount of equity from once you have purchased and renovated and refinanced. I typically look to keep my valuations and have enough equity that leaves me with around 20%, sometimes 15, sometimes 25. That's what I feel safe playing with, and that's what I feel will allow me to reinvest quicker into another project. If you need help with this, just so you know, you can click on the link below in the description. That will allow you to book a call with me where I can go into in-depth detail and describe and show you how to achieve this. Moving on, I want to talk to you today about a property that I did feature on Homes Under the Hammer with, which is based in Wolverhampton. I initially purchased the property I'm going to go through a property I purchased through auction. This property I purchased purely because it fits into the demographic area that I'm working on, fitted my budget, and was really easy to work on as there was minimal renovation required. And we managed to come in under budget by around £2,500. They initially valued the property at £170,000 once it was completed. We then went through our brokers and managed to get a valuation of £200,000. With the rental of £1,100 achieved, this was good because it showed the affordability for the valuation, and that is with generally most lenders will undervalue your property by around 5 to 10% as a minimum just to keep more skin in the game. Now remember, most buy-to-lets, you need to have at least 25% deposit. I do work with lenders that do allow 15%, sometimes 20%, but general rule of thumb is 25% to make it affordable. Otherwise, the rates you will be paying on the lower equity market will be a lot higher than what you would be paying on 25% deposit. Valuations always depend on, first of all, who is valuing the property. There are a few companies that do value properties for the mortgage companies, but generally they will assign their own team. If their team is not available, they will then contract it out to another person who can then go and survey the house for you. They will give you quite an in-depth report, as the mortgage company would require this, so that they can base their valuation on that report. Generally, valuations do depend on if you are buying your residential home or a buy-to-let. For a residential home, you can easily get even a 5 to 10% deposit because that will be your main residence. They will be looking at your income for the main source of repaying the mortgage. Whereas with a buy-to-let, the mortgage company understands that you will be using the rental income of this property to repay the mortgage. Hence, they will look at how much rent is reasonable and what you should expect, what that would leave them to leave your repayment, and making sure that it matches the valuation. For example, a house valued at £200,000 would be expecting to be able to borrow around £150,000 on this property. Generally, for that, you should be paying around £600 to £800 a month, depending on various mortgage lenders. With that in mind, a £200,000 house in the Midlands, you'd be achieving between £900 to £1,100 rent. This then means it leaves you with a little bit of extra money to cover things like the estate agent fees and any repairs ongoing in the property that do occur, as generally tenants living in the house would expect the landlord to incur all the costs for any breakages, repairs required, which do happen from time to time. So taking all this into account, the mortgage company would expect at least a 15 to 20% buffer on the rent compared to what your remortgage payment would be to keep it affordable for you. Bearing that in mind, if you're in an area where, say, the rental value would be around £1,100, but the house value is around 300 to say 350,000, the mortgage company would not lend you anywhere near that to make that purchase, meaning even a 25% deposit is not enough. You'd be looking at maybe 40% deposit just to get the deal done. Now, those properties do not make sense to have that much money invested when the rent is so low and the outlay from your pocket is so high, which is where my advice is to rent in an area and and purchase in an area where at least a return of 0.5% is there per month. Roughly meaning 5 to 7% per year should be what you're achieving on your rental property because it makes sense for the valuations. I'm going to leave you with that today. I want you to watch the video after to show you the difference of what they valued the property at and what we actually got it valued for. Just before I go, lastly, click the link in the description. If this is something you've always wanted to do and you want some help in this area, book a call with me and let me see how I can help you get to achieve the goals that you have set for yourself and help you get onto the buy-to-let ladder. We've done quite well. I think we brought in around 22,500 pounds. Mainly due to the contingency we set, we did not need to touch it as the house was already in good condition and no major upsets were found.
Finishing on time and under budget? Well, you can't ask for much more than that. So, with a total investment of around £147,000, will the hard work and money spent be worth it? We've asked along an expert from the auction house that sold the property to get his thoughts.
As you walk into the property, you can see straight away that the property has been brought up to a nice, clean standard. They've introduced a new kitchen and a new bathroom to the property to bring it up to a modern spec, as well as updating the carpets and painting throughout, so it looks nice, clean, ready to go for a renter.
That will be music to Asim and Salim's ears. But how much does he think it could achieve on the sales market?
If the property was to go onto the sale market, I believe it would be looking to achieve in the region of £180,000.
It's not too bad. I think we were around that as well, so that's what we're expecting.
Yeah.
Bit on the lower end, but...
It is a bit on the lower end, but we can work with that anyway.